To all of you who are present tonight, I am honored to greet you with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum, but in English it means peace be unto you. To Chancellor Yates, to the Reverend Jemison, to the members of the clergy, and to the honorable representatives of state government who are present, and to you, Minister Rashid Muhammad, and to all of the laborers of Islam who are present, and to all of the believers of the mosque here in Baton Rouge, to Brother Minister Carl Muhammad, who is the regional representative, and all of those who helped to make tonight possible. Our thanks to each and every one of you for your efforts. For without your effort, we could not be where we are tonight.
Thank you, brother.
To all of the FOI and the MGT who came to secure me, thank you from the depth of my heart, because every time I go any place and you hear about it, you try to get there to make sure that I come in safely and leave safely. And I appreciate that very, very much. We have lost too many leaders due to neglect and carelessness. And we've lost too many good people because we love in a disorganized way while our haters are organized against us. So love without organization is not protective of those whom we love. But those whom we love, we must organize to effectively protect, because if you love someone, you love them because of a specific reason, that they are good for you, for our cause. And because they are good for our cause, they may not necessarily be good for the cause of those who don't want good to come to us. So we must organize effectively to move ahead in a racist society. I'm very happy to be here in Baton Rouge at this marvelous institution of Southern University. And I'm deeply honored by the presence of the Chancellor and by the presence of the Reverend clergy, and especially the Reverend Jemison, and I'm honored by the presence of the members of state government and all those who struggle for justice. But I'm especially honored by your presence. I want to get right to the point. As a people, we are in crisis. As a nation, America is in crisis. And the world in which we live is also in crisis. To the members of the police department who are present, members of the hierarchy of the police department, or members of city government who may be present, or their representatives. I did not come to Baton Rouge to stir up a problem. I came to offer some guidance, a solution, if you will, to the problem. To those in positions of authority, We must remember when we are in positions of authority that we are not the author of anything that we have authority over. There's only one author, and therefore that author is the supreme authority and the supreme power. And those of us who exercise authority, we exercise authority by the permission of Him who is author of all. Since the people whom we have authority over or stewardship over are not our creation, but we are also creatures of the Creator, then we must seek to exercise that authority in the way that the true author would desire us to exercise that authority. Since the very universe in which we live is founded upon eternal principles of freedom, justice, equality, and since all things in existence submit to the law under which that thing is created, there is no planet in existence that is out of order. The only thing that is out of order is man.
Yes, sir.
And man is out of order because he fails to come under the authority of Him who is author of all.
Yes, sir.
And this is sad. This is sad when you are governing people and you refuse to come under the authority of God. Then how can you exercise a just rule? What happened in Los Angeles was predictable. These are the first comments that I shall have made concerning the events of Los Angeles, and I chose to make them here in Baton Rouge. Because in the last month, 3 black persons have been killed under strange circumstances. And the breast of the parents and loved ones of those who have perished, and the breasts of the community of those persons who have perished, is not at ease because we cannot believe the stories that have been told to us, nor do we believe the coroner's reports to us. We in every generation have seen our loved ones shot down, murdered in cold blood, and we have seen the perpetrators of that murder gone unpunished because their brethren in law, who are outlaws, will not prosecute guilty policemen, guilty authorities who misuse and abuse their authority over a poor and defenseless people who have done nothing but serve this nation, build the nation, fight for the nation, pay taxes to the nation, to be oppressed by those in authority in the nation. Now, what happened in Los Angeles is not new or strange. The beating of Rodney King is an everyday event in black folks' lives in some city in America. Even as I speak, some black body is being crushed under the weight of blows, by a police department that seeks to be judge, jury, and executioner over somebody who is suspected of a crime. You say that a man is innocent until proved guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but if you're black in America, you're guilty. When they put their hands on you, you're guilty. They don't bring you before a judge to adjudicate the matter. They judge you there with the stick, with the gun, with naked brutality and the misuse of their authority. My appeal to those of you in authority is that you do justice while justice is in your hands to do. Because in a few moments from now, it won't be in your hands anymore. And when that happens, that will be a very hard day for those in authority, no matter what color we are. When God's Spirit moves among the people, and the people say, enough is enough, and too much is too much, and they determine to rise against unjust authority, then the end of that authority has come. There are no guns big enough to keep you in power, as the lessons of history will teach any of you who study history. When your time has come, when your evil outweighs your good, to the point that the God of righteousness becomes angry over your evil that you are dishing out to poor and defenseless people, and he decides to take up the cause of the poor, then your days are numbered. And as Daniel read the handwriting on the wall written in blood, he will say your kingdom has been weighed in the balance and has been found wanting. America has such handwriting now on the wall. Think of it. Somebody with a videotape caught the vicious beating of one of our brothers. Maybe white folk were shocked at such a beating, but we weren't. We know that this goes on, don't we, brothers and sisters? We were shocked to see it on television, but we were not shocked that it happened. But each one of us that saw that terrible beating inflicted upon our defenseless brother, we felt each blow. America had a chance to show black people that there can be some hope in the justice system in America. Black people were willing to believe again if you had given them the reason to believe. Their hope was, since it was clear that the police were in error, it was not a mistake. A mistake is unintentional departure from right, but error is willful. This was not a mistake, this was willful, brutal, vicious, sadistic, inhuman, beastly behavior on the part of those who say they represent law and order and justice. They were caught by a video camera. How would they now defend four guilty policemen? They weren't thinking of consequences. The wicked never do. They think that every day is the same. That since we've been getting away with this for years, it wasn't improper for them to think that they would get away with it again. So all they did was move the venue to a little valley composed of like-minded Caucasians, approximately 2,000 of whom work for the LA Police Department. They wanted to give the defendants a jury of their peers. Well, if they would move the venue for white folks to give them a jury of their peers, when has a black man ever been judged by a jury of his peers? You see, my peers are those who suffer the same as me. My peers are those who are disenfranchised, like me.
Yes, sir.
Well, they knew when they moved the venue that they would get an acquittal. They knew that. They had a foreman on that jury that's like the majority whip in the Congress to whip the other recalcitrant ones in line to an acquittal. And many who would have voted guilty had so much pressure on them, they caved in. As, of course, the forces of evil knew. And so, an acquittal. That was sending a signal to police all across this nation. Beat, maim, shoot, kill black folk. Do it with impunity, and we will let you go. But racism is becoming more expensive with every passing day. They didn't know the results that unjust judgment would bring. So judgment was taken out of the hands of the judge. Judgment then went into the hands of the people. I'm only giving you a sign of things to come. And don't you think it will not happen. I'm insignificant, but I'm a warner to you. You can take it or let it alone. But there have been more powerful governments than this one that went down the tube because of injustice, and the Bible is full of their record for you to read today. Why, just a few days ago, who would have thought that the Soviet Union would have collapsed so quickly? All of the intelligence gathering agencies in the world did not predict the fall of the Soviet Union. Here in Soviet satellite nations, where the press is controlled by government, the media is controlled by government, everything that goes into the minds of the people is controlled by government, yet a movement was taking place under the nose of the government. In Romania, Ceausescu was so powerful, but in the matter of a few weeks, he was dead and out of power, and a new government was in. Remember the Shah of Iran? He was so powerful, the most powerful armed force in that area of the world, backed by the power of America. But in the twinkling of an eye, he was gone. Don't you think that that can happen right here in America? It will happen in America unless there's drastic change, and immediately. It's not just black folk that are tired. It's white folk too that are tired. It wasn't just black folk rising up. It was blacks, Hispanics, poor whites. Over 4,000 fires set, starting first in the black neighborhood with Korean merchants, black merchants, Arab merchants, then spreading to Hollywood, to Compton, to Pasadena, to Long Beach. Burning, 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 so much so that the traffic, air traffic, had to be delayed coming into Los Angeles because of the smoke. Mr. Clinton, the Democratic nominee, and Mr. Bush, the apparent Republican nominee, had nothing of black people on their agenda in this election year. You were not on the agenda at all until that verdict came down in Los Angeles. Huh? Nobody was addressing the serious issues of the cities of America. Nobody was addressing the serious condition of black people in the cities of America. Nobody was addressing the crime, the violence that we are inflicting upon ourselves because of the lack of jobs and industry and improper education. This was not on the agenda. But a little decision in Simi Valley and over 4,100 fires and 58 deaths and over $1 billion in property damage and other damage, then the president has to speak to this. Mr. Clinton has to speak to this. Governors of states have to speak to this. Mayors of cities have to speak to this now. Because every city is a potential Los Angeles. Because that degree of dissatisfaction over injustice and police brutality is in every major city of America. Well, Minister Farrakhan, why did it happen like that at that time? It wasn't about Rodney King. That's right. Rodney King is the latest in a series of abuses. Black folk have been swallowing abuse in this country for 430 years. You should know that even a volcano can go to sleep for a long time. But that does not mean it will sleep forever. What happened when Mount St. Helens erupted on May the 18th, 1980? The trees didn't do nothing to Mount St. Helens. The insects and the birds didn't do anything to Mount St. Helens. The cattle and the fowl didn't do anything to Mount St. Helens. But when she erupted, everything in her path was destroyed. It is this kind of violent eruption in nature that gives you a clue to what can be in the breast of human beings who are also a product of nature, but a sleeping volcano here. That fire is down in our bosoms. Fire is burning deep down in our souls to right the wrongs of yesterday and today. And all it needs is God's command. And when it starts to erupt, as there now is a ring of fire in the South Pacific of sleeping volcanoes who are beginning to erupt now. And at the same time that Mount St. Helens went up, Florida went up in a riot in Miami. Well, these are signs here. There's a power, a big power, that's moving the poor, the disenfranchised, the rejected and the despised to react. You say this is horrible. They took an innocent man out of his truck and they beat him to death. This is terrible. Yes, it is if you look at it from that view. But there is another view. You say that person was innocent. Probably so. However, Jesus, I want you to listen to me good now. Jesus said, and I quote, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, the same shall he also reap. Now, this is to say to white folks in power, justice is not a thing that you can ignore. It lies down with you when you lie down. And it gets up with you when you get up. It is ever walking with you. So even though you may sow something in this season, you may not reap it in the same season. That's not in accord with nature, but there's a season coming that what you put in the ground today will come up tomorrow. So Jesus wisely spoke to the wicked. You sow the wind, but you will reap the whirlwind. God gives you back in abundance. The scripture said, double the cup. Don't just give the wicked what they've earned, fill the cup. Then double the cup. This is the day of vengeance. You may not like it with your tender hearts. You may see the aching Caucasian laying in the street and your heart is tender, but the heart of God, how is his heart looking on it today? Where's God's heart today? Is God's heart with the slave master? Is God's heart with the children of the slave master? You may say, today's white youth, that I didn't do this. My fathers did it. Fine. So you bear witness that you are the children of those fathers. I want you to listen. Because, Reverend, we can't preach no watered down gospel of Jesus Christ. We can't preach a compromised gospel to win the friendship of a world that God and Jesus is against. You say, but God so loved the world. Stop right there. God has never loved this world that he sent his only begotten son. Stop again. How could God love the world and preach the end of the world? Send his prophets into the world. Listen to me good now. And drown the world out with water and then tell them that as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man. Then drown and kill the homosexuals in Sodom and Gomorrah. And then tell them as it was in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man. He preached the destruction of the world, the end of the world. How could he end what he loved? It's the people of his that are in the world, that are not of the world, that he comes to save out of the world. due to Allah.
All right now. All right now. Wake up.
These young whites, I'm sure, or I believe, had not done anything to deserve that. They just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when a volcano was erupting. Like that cattle and that tree and that shrubbery and those insects that were around Mount St. Helens. They just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. How many of our sons and daughters have been at the wrong place at the wrong time and never came home to tell us what happened? How many black people have lost their lives in America? In the bushes, in the swamps, in the rivers, in the lakes, in the police jail cells, in the middle passage coming from Africa. How many of us have lost our lives unjustified? God is not mocked. As a man soweth, the same shall he also reap. The prophet Obadiah said, as thou hast done, so shall it be done unto you. God in the Holy Word says that he will visit the sins of the fathers on their children, even to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. God doesn't let the children get away with what their fathers have done. But what kind of God is that? Is he a just God? Yeah, you don't question his judgment. He knows what he's doing. That's why every man, every woman should be careful of our actions today, because they bear upon unborn generations. For we are nothing more than a continuum in a long line, a long chain of human beings. Those who went before us made the path for us. And now we are making the path for those who come behind us. So don't think that what you do has no effect on your children. You're a fool if you think that way. And it's too late in the day for you to be foolish. Be a reefer smoker. Be a cocaine user. Be a sex offender. And see, will not the cocaine affect your head and then affect the head of your sperm? See, will not the cocaine, the drugs that you delight in using, affect the egg of the female? See, if not your crazy sex life that gives you AIDS will not affect your baby that is growing in the womb, innocent, but now affected because you are guilty. You pass on your sins to your unborn generation. Nobody gets away. Nobody gets away. It may appear that you got away for a season, but I'm telling you what Elijah Muhammad told me: justice never sleeps. I think it was an American president who said, I fear for my country when I reflect that God is just and that his justice cannot sleep forever. And so Koreans were burnt out. Well, what did the Koreans do? Hispanics were burnt out. What did they do? Palestinians were burnt out. Well, what did they do? People said they disrespect us. Here's a Korean grocer, shoots down a young black girl, 15 years of age. She wanted to live. She came to buy a little orange juice. That's all. She had the money there. But suspicion. Everybody black is a criminal. And when the little girl stood up for what is her right, the woman reached from behind the counter and shot her dead. The judge found the woman guilty. No sentence. Probation. Go, and God go with you. Kill as many more as you can. Black people's lives have no value. It was appealed to a higher court, and the higher court upheld the ruling of the lower court. So black people in California beginning to see, we can't trust the courts. I say to every judge, every law enforcement officer, every time you go against principles of justice, you sow the seed of anarchy. And one day when you least expect it, your law will mean nothing. Your badge will mean nothing. Your star will mean nothing. And when the people rise, government means nothing. They become the government because they are now ungovernable. They rose in Los Angeles. And as I listened to Oprah Winfrey and Ted Koppel and others, and I saw the Koreans crying, we need to work together, they said. They don't respect you, but why should they? Respect is something that is earned. You have not earned that respect. You don't earn it because you're a human being. If you're a human, you show it by doing the humane things. You don't earn respect by just coming on the planet. You earn respect by doing those things that not demanded, but commanded. You are not doing those things as a people. I must talk to you as a brother.
Go ahead, Apostle.
Who loves you. Thank you. But I'm in pain as you are, because you don't really know why you're disrespected. You figure that the Koreans, when they come in your neighborhood, they should respect you. You're spending your money with them. They should hire you since you're giving them your money. But you know how they feel? They feel that if you were their equal, you would have the business on that corner and not them. They feel that if you were their equal in intelligence, you would supply your own community's needs, because you couldn't set up a shop in Koreatown and take money from the Korean people. You couldn't set up a shop where the Jews live and take money from them. You couldn't set up a shop where the Irish or the Italians are, where they're predominant, and take money from their community. But everybody can set up shop in your community. You see, do you remember Al Jolson? Al Jolson used to paint his face black and sing, Mammy, 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 sun shines east, sun shines west. I know where the sun shines best, Mammy. Old black mammy. You see, mammy had a big breast, and mammy's breast was full of good, wholesome milk. And mammy would put the little white babies on her black breast and nurture the little white babies to strength, enough strength to turn around and call mammy nigger. Mammy's babies were not on the breast. White folk was on mammy's breast. Well, you might as well bring Al Jolson back, because that's who you have become. A big old giant mammy with a big black breast for every immigrant to come to America and suck on and grow to financial and economic strength. I'm not going to blame the Koreans. I'm not going to blame Arabs or Jews or anybody else. You have a need and you are not supplying your own need. So they come and say, well, here's a big breast. Let's suck on it and see if we can get strong. The Jews sucked on it, got strong, got off it, and left it for somebody else. The Lebanese got ejected in the war, in Lebanon, in the Civil War. They came, the Palestinians came, and they set up shop and they began to suck. They start getting strong. The Vietnamese say, oh, there's a big black breast over there. Then the Koreans said, there's more milk too. I'm gonna see what I can squeeze out of it. Meanwhile, everybody black is hungry, see the breast. Poor black businessman, he trying to get a drink. He's out there, mouth parched, lips swollen. You walk by his store, walk by your own people, and give your money to others who don't respect you and don't love you. So our people rose up and burned out the Koreans, burn out the Arabs, burn out everybody. Now when the president came, and check the president out. The president came under heavy armed guard and had a token Negro by his side and a young black brother who was just honored to be there with the president. Secret Service all around, helicopter overhead, tanks everywhere. He walking gingerly. He couldn't wait to talk to the police and the firemen and the National Guard and the Army. But you notice he didn't want to talk to no black people. Because in his heart he knows he don't care nothing about us and hasn't done anything for us and doesn't intend to do anything for us. And you would be foolish to think that Bill Clinton is going to do any different. Now I'm going to talk to you Democrats. I got to talk to you. Because you are so silly. You have a vote and you throw it away. No self-respecting Jew would allow Bill Clinton or Bush to become president without coming before Jewish people and stating candidly and forthrightly to Jews what they're going to do for Jews and for Israel. You just give your vote away. You don't ask these crackers to come and tell you straight up, what are you going to do for me in my condition? The leaders, if you'll pardon my language, the leaders are like prostitutes. if they see a dollar, the leaders running, jumping over each other to show their wares. Nobody thinking about the needs of a people. Sitting down talking about the needs of a people. Bush is a trickster. He tricked the black leaders to come to Washington. Well, he didn't trick them, he just invited them. But the invitation was a trick. What did Mr. Bush have in mind? Notice he called the top black civil rights leaders. They were hurting when they went there. They sincere men. They wanted to talk to the president about the conditions of black people and what he could do to change things. The president said, I want to listen. But he didn't want to listen. The president wanted them there because he was about to send the troops into Los Angeles. And he wanted the black leaders to sanction what he was about to do. I want you to listen to me good. I warned you 5 years ago that the reason that President Bush, 4 years ago, that President Bush would not attack Deng Xiaoping and his use of tanks on his own Chinese people in Tiananmen Square is because he had the same intention where you were concerned. I warned you that he was going to send the troops after you. I warned you that he was going to make black leaders sanction this. I warned you of this. You think I'm some radical nut, some anti-Semite, some blind fool filled with hatred. I am a messenger of God to you. You will suffer for rejecting truth. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not somebody you can come out and hear and go back to business as usual. When you hear me, you are responsible for what you hear. Jesus said, I have piped to you all the day long and you have not danced. It's make a musician feel terrible. He's playing his heart out and you won't even get in sync with the beat. You just sitting carrying on conversation like he's not even playing. Jesus said, I have mourned unto you and you have not lamented. You're not in sync with Jesus. You're not in sync with the rhythm of truth. Therefore, you are going to suffer dire consequences because you hear and you disobey rather than hear and obey. Mr. Bush put the tanks in the street. They were in the streets of Los Angeles. And they were ready to mow our people down like wild dogs. President Bush started talking like this was another desert storm. He was playing to middle America. He was playing to the conservative element in America, wanting to show them I'll get tough on the niggers. But he needed the sanction of black leaders to do it. So every leader that came out from that conference, notice their language. We must have law and order. We must quell the violence. But after the troops, I know the troops have to come in. This is what they were saying. The troops have to come in. Some of them were calling me, asking me to come out to Los Angeles. I said, I'm not a fireman. Don't call me. You don't know my name no other time. Why you know it now? Injustice started the fire. Then justice will put the fire out. So all the leaders had to say to the president was, Mr. President, stand up and go before the American people and make a definitive statement. You're going to impanel a federal grand jury. You're going to indict them for violating the civil rights of Rodney King. And you're going to make sure that police brutality is a thing of the past. If you stand up and make a moral statement, then we, the leaders, will go to Los Angeles and put the fire out. You can hold the troops. Justice will put the fire out. But Mr. Bush was non-committal. He never gave them one thing that he would do. He just said, I am listening. I'll certainly look into that. I thank you for sharing that with me. I'll get together with my staff and we will consider all of these things that you have said to us today. Thank you so very much. But listen, we'll never get anywhere until the violence is stopped. And this thing has gotten so out of hand. I have to call in the troops, and then when law and order is restored, we can do all of these things, or at least some of these things that you suggest. So we go out to the press and we say when the violence is stopped and the troops have to come in. You see, brothers, you're dealing with a smart Pharaoh. And you are acting like the elders of Israel. Acting like you are Pharaoh's boys rather than the true servants of God. So you bow to the bidding of government rather than bow to the will of God. You run from the wolf rather than stand and face the wolf for the sake of the sheep. And so, my beloved, Los Angeles is a sign of things to come. In Baton Rouge, trouble is on the horizon. This is the capital of this great state of Louisiana, and it is filled with murder, us murdering each other, and it is filled with their wicked murder of us and justifying it by lies and trickery and treachery. It's full of deceit and it's full of traitorous behavior. This is not helping Baton Rouge. This is not helping Louisiana. 60% of the white folk of this state voted for David Duke.
That's right, dear Apostle.
That means that they share his thinking. Oh, the Klan doesn't have to wear white robes anymore. They dress in business suits.
Yes, sir. That's right.
It's a mentality that is pervasive in America today. So I'm saying to you, as I bring this talk to its climax, there has to be a solution to this. Do you think that President Bush, or if Mr. Clinton is elected, will have you on the agenda? Sincerely, I'm asking you in truth. Did you know that there was a riot or rebellion in 1919? And they had a commission to study after the riot, and they gave recommendations that were never followed. I think there was a riot in 1935, and after the riot they had a commission that studied it and gave recommendations that were never followed. And there was a riot in 43, and there was a commission that studied it and nothing was done. And then there were riots and rebellions in 65, 66, 67, 68 with the assassination of Dr. King. Over 125 cities were set on fire, and they impaneled the latest commission, the Kerner Commission, named for Governor Otto Kerner of the state of Illinois. And this blue ribbon panel came back to then President Lyndon Baines Johnson with recommendations as to what could be done to ease the plight of black people. And did you know that at that time they said there were two Americas? One black, one white, one poor and disenfranchised, really, and another the opposite. And you know what they said? At that time, there were approximately 12.5 million black people in the inner cities of America. And they said in 20 years, by 1985, if nothing were done, the population would be around 20 million in the inner cities. And if it got to that much, say, you would never be able to mainstream black people. They said the government needed to develop the will to tax the American people to mainstream black people. Well, beloved, America did not have the will to spend any money to better our overall condition. Martin Luther King Jr. saw this. And even though President Johnson was the man who declared war on poverty and was the architect of the Great Society, Johnson himself was being very deceitful, because as he was talking about the Great Society, he was fabricating an incident in the Tonkin Gulf to widen the war in Vietnam, putting more money in the hands of the war machine of America and less money in the hands of poor people to mainstream black people mainly into the mainstream of American life. So when Dr. King saw that the war in Vietnam was taking away the money from the promised Great Society and war on poverty, Martin Luther King Jr. took the courage to stand up against that war. And you know, Reverend Jemison and other members of the clergy who are Baptists, when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King made that stand, many of his own Baptist preachers did not go along with Martin Luther King, because they felt that he was taking on too much by taking on the government of the United States in its desire to prosecute the war in Vietnam. But Martin Luther King was a man of courage and a man of conviction. And Martin Luther King Jr. decided he would fight against what he felt was an unjust war. This led Martin Luther King to his death, because the government of the United States, who had been opposed to him all along, even under the Kennedy administration, now had to move on Martin Luther King Jr. He was assassinated not because of a dream, but he was assassinated because he came face to face with the hypocritical reality of the United States government that was saying one thing to him and the civil rights leaders to their face and doing another thing totally behind their backs that was in diametric opposition to what they had just said to the civil rights leaders. And so Dr. King is gone. And the war in Vietnam was lost. And billions of dollars in money and material, war material, were left in Vietnam, making the Vietnamese the fourth most well-equipped army in the world. And all the taxpayers' dollars went down a deep, deep hole. And America has not yet recovered from that war. Now enter Mr. Reagan. Y'all all right? Give me just a few more minutes, all right? When Mr. Reagan came in, America was the leading creditor nation. 8 years of Reaganomics made America the leading debtor nation. Now 8 years of Reagan has passed, 4 years of Bush has now passed, and the nation called America is in nearly $4 trillion of debt, public and private. $4 trillion. Now I'm talking reality to you, dear brothers and sisters. The jobs that were once in the black community are no longer there. When the rebellions took place in 65, 66, 67, they knew that the black community was a boiling cauldron, and nobody wants to build a business on the top of a volcano, even if it's sleep. They figure one day it may wake up and my business is gone. So business began to move out of the inner cities. And when business moved out of the inner cities, those service jobs moved out. Those factory jobs moved out with the business. You know, we used to work the farm. And we got so sick of the farm, when the Industrial Revolution took place in the North, we left Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, moving to cities like Chicago and Detroit so we could work in the factories of America, draw wealth from America, and make a future for ourselves. Now the factories are closing, and the brothers and sisters who went north are finding themselves coming back. Have you noticed? Coming back with education, coming back with some money, coming back with experience. The South is going to rise into great power politically, economically, if you take the right road. I'm almost there. Bear with me. Now, with $4 trillion in debt and jobs moving out of America, and the brothers, young brothers, you are rebelling against their educational system. You don't want to stay in school, do you? No, you don't. You're getting out. Our girls filling the colleges. Our girls getting the degrees. our girls becoming more assertive, more aggressive, the men later for that. Now, our young girls cannot find in their young men compatible minds that think, listen please, that think beyond getting into bed. And so our young girls are disillusioned. They have a sexual nature, but today's young girls, if they have sense, they don't just want to lay down with anybody, and they don't want to be used as an object of pleasure when God created them for a very serious purpose. Listen to me very carefully. So these young girls are working downtown Baton Rouge. Not you. They're working downtown Austin, downtown Birmingham, downtown Chicago. The brothers are on the streetcar. And every day looks like Sunday. And we're not in heaven yet. Nobody's working. If you don't have any money, how can you be a father? You still got the sex drive, so you're making babies, but you don't have the wherewithal to be a father, either from here or from the pocket. So every time the woman gets a baby, you get itchy feet. I gotta go, baby, I gotta go. I said, if she doesn't abort the baby, you're out of there. So the abortion clinics are filled with black women killing the fruit of their wombs because there's no man in their life even worthy for them to go through the pain of death to bring forth life for them. It's a very sad situation for us. But there's a way out. There's a way out. I'm getting to that right now. The Soviet Union collapses, and America has a chance to affect Eastern Europe and her direction toward democracy. Where do you think the money's going? If America got any money to spare, will she give it to Africa? Will she give it to South America? Central America? No. Who's gonna get it? Look, did you hear the members of Congress arguing to give Israel $10 billion to resettle some Russian Jews to give them homes in Israel? Here's homeless people all over America sleeping under bridges in cardboard. Nobody is asking the government, or the government is not listening and will not give any money to refurbish old homes that are boarded up in cities across this country, to give the homeless American people a decent place to live. But they will give the money to Israel because the Jewish lobby in America is stronger than the voice of the homeless. Even though the homeless are Vietnam veterans and veterans of America's wars, they have no voice. So the money will go to Poland. The money will go to the Ukraine. 20-some billion is being earmarked for Russia, white Russia. But there is nothing on the agenda for you, for the cities of America, whose infrastructure is decaying, bridges and roads decaying, rotting. You are now not 12 million in the cities, but you are over 26 million blacks in the inner cities of America. And if the Kerner Commission is true, it is now impossible to mainstream you. I want you to listen. 25 years after Dr. Martin Luther King, there is more segregation in America right now than there was when Martin Luther King was marching on Birmingham and marching in Selma, Alabama. Did you know that? They admit this. And there is no will among the American people to integrate you or to be with you. So you are still 25 years later, two Americas, one black, one white, separate and unequal. Now what is the solution? We gotta get to solutions and we can go home. Now, you know the Bible is a good book. I better check my watch too, brother. No, I gotta worry about it because the people been here a long time and they don't have a lot of time. But look, brothers and sisters, the Bible is a serious book, and so is the Quran. The Bible does not have stories in it of slaves for conjecture. When you read law books, you read the history of cases, so that when a similar case comes up that you are trying, attorney, you go back and study how the ruling was with that similar instance in the history of law. Yes, then you use that history, yes, to guide yourself as you go into the court. When a doctor hears a patient, the doctor doesn't draw out of nothing. They go back in history. And when you start talking about your symptoms, they say, oh, patient so-and-so had that symptom, and this was what was prescribed. I think that's this, and so forth and so on. Everything comes up out of history. Y'all with me? Yes, sir. Class, wake up, class. Yes, sir. Don't go to sleep yet, class. We're going to go home soon. Has there been a case in history like this? Yeah. Let's look at it. Yes, sir. Pharaoh had a problem just like this. It was 600,000 Israelites in Egypt slaving for Pharaoh. They weren't integrated. Pharaoh was oppressing them. God wanted Pharaoh to do what? No, you didn't say it right. God wanted people to do what? Let them go. Let them go, Pharaoh. Let them go to do what? God wanted to make a nation out of them for his glory. Listen to this carefully now. That's history. Pharaoh got hot. He saw the children of Israel multiplying, didn't he? And he set up a plan against who? The male members of the children of Israel, to kill all the boys and spare the girls. Is that right? Why you think that's in the Bible and Holy Quran? Come on, Muslims. Come on, Christians. What is the sense of reading the Bible? If you're not going to read it, to use it to find a solution to your problem. You in America separate, unequal, catching hell. Is there a God for you that loves you? Well, does God want you to integrate into your slave masters? Let's see. Is that the history in the past? Did God ever integrate the slaves who were brutalized and beaten by an unjust government and people? Did he ever integrate them and make them one? Talk to me. No. Reverend, he never did that. He always sent his prophet to warn the government that his wrath was about to descend on that government. And he told the people, come out of her. Come out, that you be not partakers of her sins and her plagues. for her sins have reached unto heaven. You don't integrate with a man that's on death row. If you are a little offender, you've been to prison, some of us. You know, if you went for robbery or you went for this or that, they don't put you on death row. Death row is an exclusive group of people. You don't hang out with the people on death row. Because see, they don't have nothing to lose. They'll kill you, brother. They can only die once anyway. So here you want to integrate with people who are on death row. I know you don't like that. But I can't help that. As thou hast done, so shall it be done. See, the sentence of death is on America right now. Listen, white folk, I have to tell you this. You can get out from under it if you move right. But the sentence of death is on America right now. She's wicked. She's wicked. And God has allowed all her enemies to sit down, leaving only America standing, just like it was with Egypt. God allowed Egypt to become powerful so that he could deal with her himself, so that he might make himself known. You don't know the God of heaven. You got his name. You know something about his spirit, but you don't know the person. You don't know the reality. But the God wants to make himself known to you. And the only way he can make himself known is to make a strong enemy, and then he sit the enemy down and make a severe problem that nobody can solve. This is us. But he himself. Now, it's a radical solution that the Bible gives in the Quran. The radical solution is separation. Since we are already separate and white folk don't want us, then let's sit down and talk about it. We help to build the country, maintain the country. Why don't you offer us some of it and let us go? You say, well, what could we do? I don't want to be nowhere where there's all Negroes, niggers. But that's where you are right now. You don't have nothing. Reverend Jameson ain't the president over white Baptists. He's the president over a segregated house of black Baptists. Don't make no mistake now. His power don't come from a white base. His power comes from a black base. You white, black Shriners, you're not in no white shrine. You're not the worshipful master in no white shrine. If you're a worshipful master, ain't nobody worshiping you as worshipful master but somebody black like yourself. You're not even admitted in the white shrine. Talk back to me. This is real. Somebody got to talk to Pharaoh. Somebody got to tell him, look, we have to have a future for our people. And we can't have a future sitting around here waiting for you to make a job for us when your own economy is closing down. If black folk don't get up and do something for ourselves, we're finished. Now, you say, well, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't separating. That's too radical. But I want you to hold that in your mind. Because as radical as it is, crazy as it sounds, with every passing day, it might become more and more feasible to you. You know how it is when you're in love with somebody and don't want to leave them?
I love you, baby, I love you. You know how you all say that thing when you get married? Oh, I just love you. You tell all your friends, oh, she's the sweetest thing I've ever seen. I just worship the ground she walks on. 6 months later, you haven't even made the first year. That no good so-and-so and so-and-so. You're in a divorce court. So it didn't look possible that you would ever leave your lover. But you divorced. You know, when you fall in love, you don't want to leave your lover. Is that right? Well, you know you're in love with white folks. You don't want to leave white folks. You love your lover. Even though your lover beating the hell out of you, I just stay here and take it. I just love, you know what I mean? I understand. I really understand. Because you don't see no other lover in sight. But stick around a few more days when the tanks start mowing you down in the major cities. You see, the Bloods and the Crips didn't come together out of love genuinely in their heart for one another. If it was so, they would have done it before the rebellion and didn't have to wait till after them tanks were in the street. But they know what time it is. The dry bones didn't come together in the valley at the preaching of the word. The winds had to blow on the bones, Reverend. Otherwise, the bones would never have come together. And it's the same way with you and me. Yeah? All right, let's wrap this up. All right, some of you say that's extreme. It's extreme. And it is extreme. It's very extreme. But hold it in your mind. Hold it in your mind. And think about it. We have to make a future for our babies. And you're not going to make a future sitting around here at Southern University thinking that you're going to come out of here with a degree and go ask white folks for a job. If these students, Mr. Chancellor, don't come out of Southern with the mind to create a job, then we are lost and our education is meaningless. Okay, let's put separation on the side, okay? That seems a little extreme for some of you. Let's put that over here. We just go on over there, separation. Go on over there. Let's see if we can get another solution there. It might be a little more palatable. Now, you know, we worked for America for 300 years for nothing. And we helped them get rich and powerful. You know what happened with the Japanese? It took the Japanese, confiscated their property, put them in prison in concentration camps for the remainder of the war, which is about 5 years, from 41 to 46. When it was over, the Japanese started asking, we got to have some justice here. Finally, Congress said, we owe the Japanese. So let us give them reparations to repair the damage that we have done to these poor Japanese Americans. And we sit there. Isn't that nice of our government? The Germans are paying reparations to the Jews right now for their Holocaust. And the Jews deserve it. What about you? Just think about the millions of lives that were lost in the Middle Passage coming to America. Add that up. Add up what it cost to make you a Negro from an African black man and woman. Turn you into a Negro that don't know your name, your language, your culture, your God, your religion, nothing of your past. Add that up. That's damage to your head, isn't it? Isn't that damage? Huh? Thank you. Add up the fact that for 300 years they sold us. And we had no rights over our own bodies. Add up the destruction to our women and the children from these women. They were in church. They wouldn't even let us read the Bible. They locked the Bible from us. And anybody that taught us how to read would be chastised. 300 years we were not allowed to read. See, this is why foreigners don't know why we are backward, because they think we are playing on an even playing field with all other Americans. They do not know what has happened to our head. There's not a Korean here that don't know he's a Korean. Speak the Korean language. Show me a Palestinian in this audience that is not in the knowledge of his own history, his own language, his own culture. Show me a Greek or an Italian or a Polish person or an Irish person that don't know their history. But look at 30 million black people wearing white folks' name: Johnson, Jones, Smith, Riley, Culpeper, Washington, green, black, brown, blue, pink, Mr. Chartreuse. Everybody speaks their own language but you. Can't do it. Don't know it. You in their culture, wearing their dress. We're not in our own culture, exhibiting our own culture. We are bastardized into their culture. And they reject you, and the more white you try to become, the more rejected you are, with your blue eyes and your blonde hair and your hatred of yourself. Huh? Okay. Do they owe us? Have they killed all our leaders? Broken up our organizations? What's the price of that? Now I know white folk may get happy one day and say, all right. We know we were wrong. So we're going to give each black American family $25,000. And I bet most of you say, oh, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. You better say thank the Lord, L-A-R-D, because not the Lord. If they gave you $25,000 in 30 days, they'd have it right back. Because you are nothing but a nation of consumers, do not know what to do with your money. So we don't want them to just give us money. Now you know that white folks, they're saying, we ain't giving them nothing. You know they're saying that right now. So maybe that solution may not work. Let's put that off to the side. Go over there, reparations. Get over it. But there got to be a solution. Here's where we start. You ready? Now you know we live in America. We came to this nation as slaves, but we helped build this. And we have a right to say, I ain't going no place, because I built this. My sweat and blood is here. We got sweat equity in this. Right? I suppose white folks won't give us nothing, won't give us no land, won't separate us, won't do nothing for us. You see what the little brother in Los Angeles said when Mr. Bush came? We need money. You see, look at all this destruction. We need some money up in here. He's not wrong. We do need money. But brothers and sisters, you already have it. You just don't know what to do with it. Do you know right now you get out of the American economy, at the last reading, if the figures are true, over $220 billion a year. That's why everybody is on your breast. And they getting fat, and you getting lean, and then mean. Now, brothers and sisters, you with me? We're closing now. Hang with me. Hold on, don't move. Look, you already got the money. If the government don't give us nothing, if they say we ain't doing nothing for you niggas, then we got to be sensible enough to know we got to do it now for ourselves. And you don't start marching on Washington asking for something. You start with what you got right now and start to do something with it. Now, what should we do? Let me show you just how easy this thing is. Y'all all right? You got to have first leadership that you trust. The reason you have to have leadership that you trust, because it's going to take a national solution. Reverend Jemison is a powerful black man.
Yes, sir.
Reverend Jemison could affect a solution to this problem. And I believe this.
Yes, sir.
I believe this. And the solution ain't yours and mine, it's God's.
Yes, sir.
And we offer it to everybody. Let's put it to work. Here's how it could work. Now notice, this is Baton Rouge. There's about 6,500 black people in here who paid a few dollars, or whatever it was, to come in. Do you know this is unusual? For any black man to come into cities all over America and thousands of black people come out to hear what he has to say.
Right.
Do you know what that means? That even though many of you, most of you are Christians, and I am a Muslim, you believe that there's something about Farrakhan that you can trust. First of all, I don't sound like I disrespect your faith. And I don't sound like I'm trying to get you out of your faith into my faith. Because I don't believe in that. I believe that faith is one. One faith. One Lord. One baptism. If you believe in God, you believe in God. You may call him by a different name. You may express your faith differently than I express mine. But faith is faith, but faith is worthless unless it is accompanied by works. So the New Testament said, show me a man that has faith, and I'll show you a man with what? Works. All right. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Now, since Brother Farrakhan has become a voice that millions of black people are listening to, what good does that do? I mean, I am here and I'll be gone one day. And I would hate to have my legacy read, he spoke in Baton Rouge to 6,500 people. He spoke in California to 50,000. So what? If the people who trust Brother Farrakhan are not willing to be guided to a program of action, then this is an empty speech that has nothing but vanity. Because there were people that lived before me that spoke to thousands. They're dead and they're gone, and their listeners are dead and gone, and the problem still remains. So it ain't about making speeches. It's about doing something to change the reality under which we live. Now look at how simple it is. Newsweek magazine said about 32% of black people agree with Louis Farrakhan. I don't know how true the poll is. The Detroit Free Press said from 48 to 52% of black people agree with the Nation of Islam and Louis Farrakhan. Well, let's look at that. We have between 30 and 40 million people in this country. If half of those people believe in me, let's take 20 million people. This man is the president, leader of 7 million Baptists. Let's look at this now. If 20 million people trusted Minister Farrakhan, 7 million people trust Reverend Jemison. Here's what we could do together. I'm asking you if you would trust me with $10 a month in a national savings for 3 years. Listen to this now. 20 million people giving $10 a week, $10 a month, pardon me. In 1 month, how much is that? 200 million. Let's look at that now. Count that. 200 million. That's not even a drop in the bucket out of our economy, is it? Look at the shoes we got on. Look at the sneakers you all wear. Them Air Jordan stuff. $130 for sneakers. Now you know you can afford $10 a month. Now if you believe that I will not sell you out, let's go for the second month. That's another 200 million. At the end of 1 year, how much is that? 2,400,000,000 in a national treasury. That's liquid cash dollars. Year 1 gone by. Year 2 we do it again. Year 3 we do it again. Now you got over $7 billion. Now look, you got some governments on this earth that don't have $7 billion in hard currency. Now the question is, what do you do with $7 billion that has earned interest? Now what do? We all buy cars. We all buy wigs. Do we all get a weave? What do? We gotta talk about land. Now the Japanese buying up America, the British buying up America, the Koreans buying up America, the Dutch buying up America. You got some money. What piece of the rock do we own? Nothing. Okay, let's start. Reverend Jemison, where we gonna start? Let's go to our Bible. Reverend, we open up the Bible to the story of Joseph. In the Holy Quran, it's the 12th chapter. It's called Yusuf. Now what happened to Joseph? He was sold into bondage by his own brothers. And then he became a master in the land where he was sold as a slave. How did he become a master? He began to interpret the conditions. Wait a minute, my name is Louis. Wait, now I'm talking to the Reverend. And all the reverends in the house. You know, we got to put this Bible to work for us. Look, man, this is serious. Joseph got control of the grain house. And in the time of famine, Joseph was feeding the people. And he became second only to the Pharaoh in power, in authority, didn't he, Reverend? Okay, now, well, we don't want to go out here and take $7 billion and buy a grain house. But look. The farmers in America are in bad shape. What's the grain producing states in America? Let's name them. Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri. You got all those states where we produce corn, wheat, oats, barley, rye. Didn't you say the Lord's Prayer? Give us what? This day our what? What you say it was? Then you go to the supermarket, right? But when you're asking the Lord to give you your daily bread, we got to go to the earth now. Now look, the farmers want to get out. God is drowning them out with too much rain, droughting them out with too little. Now we're the people of God. God wants us to do something for ourselves. So here we go now. We'll take that, we'll buy that, we'll take this, we'll buy that. Bring the money out the treasury. We bargain with them. We go to Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and Louisiana. We buy up land because we're going to produce grains. Now we're not going to farm like white folks with profit in mind and not the health of the people. Now, listen. When you get your land, you start producing. What do you produce? Your necessities. You set up huge canning factories. So you take your corn and your peas and your okras and your carrots and you start canning them. When you start canning and producing, you need warehouses in the major centers. You go into the major centers, you buy your warehouses. Then you go into the cities and you set up your supermarket. And with the help of Reverend Jemison, see, we make all our religious people. Can you see First Baptist peas? Can you see a can of First Baptist corn? Second Baptist okra? Congregational rice? Lord have mercy. AME peas? CME asparagus? Muslim chickens? It's a little funny, but I'm going to show you how simple it is. When you set up your own supermarket, since you're burning out the people, you got to replace it with something. Now, we don't go to nobody else's supermarket. We go to our own. Do you know how many billions of dollars we spend a year on food? Now, if you start producing some of the food that we consume, then we put that money right back in our own treasure. Those are billions going out, billions coming back. Look now, you buy grazing land and you buy your dairy cows. And as they're eating from the land and producing the milk, now you don't have to buy white folks' milk. You can put a black face on the milk. You know? You can call it Habaragani milk. You can call it some African Swahili name. We don't care what you call it, but a black face gonna be on it, and you can't buy no white face milk. You got to buy milk that's produced from your own cows. So all over America we drink milk. We start drinking milk that we produce for ourselves. So the money that you pay for white folks for milk, that's coming back in your pocket now. Look at how easy. Now you're growing. Then you go to clothing. Food first, then clothing. Look at all the clothes we got on. We ain't produced nothing. I'm just about everything I got on made somewhere else except me. I'm the only thing I got on made in America. My shoes are from Italy. The suit is from Italy. The shirt from China. I don't know where the underwear from. But we wear these things. You can't sew? Look at the clothes you got on. Sister, they don't make clothes for us. You know how we're formed. These clothes don't fit us right. These white folk with these flat anatomies, you know what I mean? You put on their clothes, It's down in the front, up in the back. You trying to walk, looking crazy as hell. These old tight shoes. We walking all these years with no shoes on our feet. Now you gonna dress in these little skimpy shoes, trying to walk. High heels killing you and you know it. We need shoes for our kind of feet and clothes for our kind of form. Watch out now. That cow gave its hide to white folk. Don't you think it'll give you the hide? It was a black man that revolutionized the shoe industry. Why can't we go back and shod our own feet with shoes we can style for ourselves? We can dress ourselves again. And the money that we put into clothing, some of that will come back to us. We pick cotton for white folk. Now we pick it for ourselves, then turn the cotton into lint, turn the lint into cloth, and then turn the cloth into fabric and sell our fabrics to ourselves all over America. And now look, you got people in Africa, you got people all over the world. Now you're an international people. So suppose we go to Africa now and say to our brother in Ghana, hey, bro, you want some investment? We'll invest in a gold mine in Africa. And our own people will help us to mine gold, which will be the medium of exchange in the future. And with some of your money, you invest in Africa. You are helping the African continent. You're mining gold and diamonds out. You have a medium of exchange. You're becoming rich. You're becoming powerful. You're becoming international. With the money that you are throwing away on drugs and whiskey and wine and foolishness, you can begin to use that money to lift yourselves up out of the condition that 400 years of servitude has put us in. And lastly, look at all the people we have in prison. I would like to go to the government and say to them, look, give me all the brothers and sisters in prison.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right.
We're the only ones that show we can reform them. Because we came out of prisons, most of us, and we're reformed. That's where we got Malcolm, out of prison. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made a giant out of him. There's giants in all of those prisons. Do you know how America got started? She released the prisoners. Do you know how Australia and New Zealand got started? They released the prisoners. We didn't give up our right to Africa. We can go to the heads of state and government in Africa and say to them, look, brothers, we want you to give some land to your kith and kin in the diaspora. Just like you made a way for the Jews in Palestine, I want you to make a way for the blacks in the diaspora to come home if they want to. We want fertile land that's minerally rich with an outlet to the sea. I already have the place in mind.
Yes, sir.
And have already been talking to the people about it.
Yes, sir.
Look at this. Then I'll go to the president and say, look here, let the prisoners go. They don't have to serve time here doing nothing. Let them serve time in this new land, building a new reality for themselves and their people. Look at this now. And the money that you spend to keep up a convict in jail, give it to us to build the new reality. That's the least you can do for a people whom your fathers enslaved. Now check this out. Look at all these intelligent black folk here that don't even have a job, but got skill. You put the skill together with the raw manpower of our prison population, and we start building a new reality on the African continent with dual citizenship. We're citizens here, citizens there. Just like the Jews go back and forth to Israel and America, we go back and forth to Africa and come right back to America, back and forth to Africa, come right back to America. And then the learning that we have acquired at Southern and Howard and all of our black institutions and white institutions, we offer that learning to Africa to build a reality there, and we offer that same learning to keep on building our economic base right here in America. Now look, that will get you economic power, that will get you political power, that will get you self-respect. And then white people will be hard-pressed to think of us as they once thought of us when we become a producing nation of people. And lastly, when you build like that, you got to protect what you build. And so the young brothers that want to fight, you know what I mean? We have to build an army to protect what we build, so that when our trucks go over the highways bringing our produce, they're protected. Our warehouses are protected. We have farmland here, farmland in the South, farmland outside of America, producing fruits and vegetables and flying them back in with our own planes. This is not a pipe dream. This can be real within the next 20 years. We can do this if we start now. But I say this with all respect. If white folks say, you don't want to separate us, you don't want to give us land in payment for our slave labor and give us a start, you don't want to give us reparations, and you refuse to allow us to spend our own money to do something for ourselves, then it's time for us to go to war. No. I want you to listen to me. I want you to listen, Reverend. You're already dead. You can't die no more. You have nothing to lose. If white folk won't let us do something for ourselves, then we all die together. We make sure in the name of God, we call on God and go to war. And then you don't care what happens. You say, that's terrible. That's because you're such a damn coward. You're weak and cowardly. The white man sent you and your black behind all over the world to fight for him and his damn freedom, and you won't stand up and fight for your own liberation? What kind of man and what kind of woman are you? We'll have to fight then, and it will be worth fighting for, because they're stopping us from doing something to help ourselves. We have no other alternative than shut it down. And 40 million of us on the inside is more dangerous to them than 200 million on the outside. We don't have nothing to lose but our chains. I would hope it would never come to that. I would hope that America would be intelligent and see that if we lift black people up from their own work, that we're lifting America and giving America a better image throughout the world. We're helping America to become more sane and civilized by our behavior changing for the better. One of these solutions is going to work. I leave it to you. Brothers and sisters, you have a pamphlet on the 3-year economic savings plan. I want you to think about it. And I would want you to go home and help me to help you, to help ourselves. I would appeal to Reverend Jemison, who is one of the most powerful black men in our country today, to take the 7 million Baptists and the money that they can give and make them productive. We got to go back to the earth. We got to do for ourselves. And don't you know, when we start, you'll find white folk that will help you. And if they don't help, it don't make any difference. We've decided to help ourselves, but they will help. The government would have to kick in. Once we united and did it, we could go to the government and say to them, lest you not take our tax dollars. Since you haven't done nothing for us, why not let our tax dollars go to build our own reality? When you got that kind of juice in your unity, you'd be surprised what you can do. It's not a pipe dream. The biggest pipe dream you had is that black and white would be together. And if you could dream that dream and not be excited that you were dreaming and you need to wake up, then this is not a pipe dream. This can be accomplished if we will. May God bless you and me and us to unite and make a difference. And if you would take that pamphlet home with you, think about it. And if you're in agreement and want to help us to get started, to help us, to help ourselves, make this real, then you send that $10 and let's get started to do something for self. May God bless you all as I greet you in peace, thanking you for listening as I greet you. Stay together, brothers and sisters. Stay strong, brothers and sisters. Be united, brothers and sisters, and we'll put an end to oppression and the tyranny of our people. Thank you for listening as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Can we say prayer together? Can we say prayer? Brothers and sisters, would you hold your place for 1 minute? On your way out, there's a book that the Nation of Islam has compiled. You know they call me an anti-Semite, right? I have never been a hater of Jews, and I am not now. I don't hate people because of their faith or their color. That's foolish. In this book, some of our brothers went into the libraries, Jewish libraries and other libraries, to dig out the factual history and data from their own scholars. And this book documents that the Jews were heavily involved in the slave trade, heavily involved in owning the ships, owning us, owning the plantations, fighting against all slave revolts. This is volume 1 of a 3-volume book. I've sent this book to the Jewish leaders. I've sent this book to the members of the Congressional Black Caucus and to black leaders. I want you to get it, read it. This is not to create hatred between us and Jews, but it is to reestablish or to establish a relationship that's not based on falsehood, but it's based on truth. This book will be on sale on your way out, and if you would like the tape of today's lecture that is being high-speed duplicated, and also a video has been made of this talk, and if you would like it, you're welcome to put in your order to get it. Thanks to the Chancellor, thanks to the students of Southern. Keep on making Southern the great university. She's the largest that we have of black institutions. We want to keep her strong. They're trying to ruin all these black colleges. Let's keep Southern strong. All of you professors, all of you who are students, if you would just think to teach your students, don't come out of college looking for a job, come out with the mind to create jobs for yourself and for your people. Thank you. Let us pray. I'm going to pray a part of this prayer in Arabic and in English. With your head slightly bowed, would you follow me silently in our prayer? قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم الصراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment. Thee alone do we worship, thine aid we seek. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path of those upon whom thine wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray. O Allah, we thank you for this meeting. We thank you for all who are in attendance. We pray that you will guide each and every person safely to their places of abode. And we pray that this word spoken will enter the heart and will cause us to think sanely about our future, that we may unite and begin to do something for self. We thank you and we pray that you guide and protect us as we move in an alien environment to do your will. We ask all of this in your holy and righteous name. Ameen. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan, give him another Baton Rouge round of applause. The leader of the revolution of righteous people all over the planet Earth, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in Baton Rouge. We remind you, brothers and sisters, that as the minister and his motorcade depart, take your time and stop in the exit lobby as you depart the building.